Just minutes before saying, "I do," a beautiful young black bride stood outside an old church, dressed in white, crying so hard she could barely breathe. Guests walked past without asking a single question. Then, a mysterious billionaire stopped his car, looked into her tear-filled eyes, and quietly asked, "What happened?" The bride whispered just a few words, and suddenly, every face around them turned pale. A shocking truth hidden for decades was about to destroy one family and change two lives forever. Stay until the end, because this unforgettable true-to-life story proves that one act of kindness can rewrite an entire destiny. A cold autumn breeze swept across the stone steps of St. Matthew's Church. Guests whispered excitedly inside, waiting for the wedding to begin. Outside, 25-year-old Naomi Carter, a beautiful black bride in a simple white gown, stood alone with tears streaming down her face. Her bouquet rested on the ground as she struggled to breathe, wondering how her happiest day had become her worst nightmare. Minutes earlier, Naomi had received a sealed envelope with no return address. Inside were photographs and a handwritten letter revealing that her fiancé, Daniel, had secretly been accepting money from her wealthy future in-laws to hide a painful truth. Every promise he had made suddenly felt like a carefully rehearsed lie instead of genuine love. Guests passed Naomi without asking why she was crying. Some assumed she was overwhelmed with emotion, while others avoided eye contact to escape an uncomfortable moment. Surrounded by hundreds of people, Naomi had never felt so invisible. She silently prayed for someone, anyone, to simply ask if she was all right before everything collapsed. That same moment, 58-year-old billionaire William Harrison drove past the church after attending a business meeting nearby. Known for building one of the world's largest charitable foundations, William had learned long ago that success meant little without compassion. When he noticed the crying bride standing alone, he immediately asked his driver to stop. William stepped from his luxury car without caring who recognized him. Slowly approaching Naomi, he noticed her trembling hands and tear-filled eyes. In a calm, respectful voice, he asked, "Miss, what happened?" The sincerity in his words broke the silence. Naomi looked into his eyes and realized he truly wanted to understand. Barely able to speak, Naomi handed William the envelope. As he carefully read every page, his expression changed from curiosity to disbelief. The documents suggested Daniel had hidden a life-changing secret for years. William folded the papers slowly. Around them, curious guests began gathering, sensing something extraordinary was unfolding outside the church. Daniel rushed outside, pretending to be concerned. He smiled nervously and reached for Naomi's hand, insisting everything was just a misunderstanding. Before Naomi could answer, William quietly stepped between them and asked Daniel one simple question: "Is every word in this letter false?" Daniel's silence lasted longer than anyone expected. The growing crowd watched in complete silence. Daniel finally admitted he had hidden massive gambling debts from Naomi, fearing she would leave him before the wedding. But the letter revealed something even darker. He had planned to use Naomi's inheritance to save himself after the marriage. Gasps echoed across the church entrance. Naomi felt her world shatter. Every memory of their relationship suddenly seemed dishonest. Instead of blaming herself, she gathered the courage to remove her engagement ring. Tears filled her eyes as she placed it into Daniel's hand. The guests watched without speaking, realizing true courage sometimes means walking away instead of saying, "I do." William gently offered Naomi a seat inside his car while reporters and guests began arriving outside the church. He reminded her that losing a dishonest relationship was not losing her future. Naomi took a deep breath for the first time that day. She had no idea this heartbreaking moment would become the beginning of a completely new life. As William drove Naomi away from the church, she stared silently through the window, watching her wedding guests disappear behind them. She felt embarrassed, heartbroken, and completely lost. William gently told her, "Today didn't ruin your life, it saved it." His calm words offered the first small spark of hope Naomi had felt all day. William invited Naomi to his lakeside estate so she could rest before making any decisions. His house was magnificent, yet filled with warmth rather than luxury alone. The staff welcomed Naomi with kindness, never asking uncomfortable questions. For the first time since the morning, she felt safe enough to breathe without fear or shame. While reviewing the documents again, William noticed a familiar signature at the bottom of the anonymous letter. It belonged to an attorney who had once handled an important case for his late father nearly 25 years earlier. Something about the name awakened painful memories William had buried deep inside his heart. William arranged a private meeting with the retired attorney the next morning. The elderly man hesitated before revealing a secret he had protected for decades. "This isn't only about Daniel," he whispered. "It concerns your family as well." William's heart pounded as the old man placed another sealed file onto the desk. Inside the file were adoption records, hospital reports, and old photographs. William discovered that Naomi's late mother had once worked for his family's charitable foundation. Years ago, she had courageously exposed financial corruption before mysteriously losing her job. Someone powerful had spent decades trying to erase the truth from public memory. William realized his own father had never known about the corruption because trusted executives had hidden everything from him. Naomi's mother had sacrificed her career to protect innocent families from fraud. Tears filled William's eyes as he understood that Naomi had unknowingly inherited her mother's honesty and extraordinary courage. Meanwhile, police investigators arrived at Daniel's apartment after receiving evidence from the anonymous letter. They uncovered forged financial documents, hidden debts, and contracts proving he intended to gain control of Naomi's inheritance immediately after the wedding. The shocking discovery spread rapidly through local news, leaving everyone speechless. When Naomi learned the full truth, she broke into tears again, not because she had lost Daniel, but because she realized she had nearly built her future on deception. William reminded her that honest people often suffer temporary pain, but lies eventually destroy themselves. Those words stayed in Naomi's heart forever. Wanting to honor Naomi's mother's bravery, William announced he would reopen every old case connected to the foundation. He promised complete transparency and justice for families harmed by the corruption. Reporters praised the decision worldwide, calling it one of the most courageous acts ever taken by a billionaire against his own company's past. Standing beside the peaceful lake that evening, Naomi thanked William for stopping outside the church when everyone else had walked away. William smiled gently and replied, "Sometimes one simple question can save someone's entire future." Neither of them realized that an even greater truth was about to change both of their lives forever. The following morning, the retired attorney returned with one final envelope. He revealed that he had secretly sent the anonymous letter to Naomi because he could no longer remain silent. He had watched Daniel's deception grow for months and knew the wedding was Naomi's last chance to escape a lifetime of betrayal. As William reviewed the remaining documents, he found another surprise. Naomi's mother had written a heartfelt letter before her passing. In it she asked that, if the truth ever surfaced, someone would protect her daughter and remind her never to sacrifice her dignity for anyone who valued money more than love. Deeply moved, William handed the letter to Naomi. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she recognized her mother's handwriting. Every sentence felt like a warm embrace from heaven. For the first time since losing her mother, Naomi smiled through her tears, realizing that love never truly disappears. William announced that his foundation would create the Grace Carter Scholarship, named after Naomi's mother. The scholarship would help thousands of young women pursue education and build independent futures. News of the announcement spread worldwide, inspiring countless people to believe that one person's courage can change generations. Meanwhile, Daniel stood before a judge to answer charges related to fraud, forgery, and financial deception. The evidence was overwhelming. The same greed that had nearly destroyed Naomi's future now destroyed his own. Watching the news, Naomi felt no desire for revenge, only gratitude that the truth had arrived in time. Months later, Naomi accepted William's invitation to help lead the foundation's community outreach programs. She traveled across cities, encouraging abandoned families, single mothers, and young women never to lose hope. Her story touched millions because she spoke not as a victim, but as someone who had survived with courage and faith. One afternoon, William quietly confessed that meeting Naomi outside the church had changed his own life. After years of focusing only on business, he had rediscovered compassion, purpose, and family. Naomi smiled warmly, realizing that sometimes the person who saves another heart is quietly healing their own as well. Exactly 1 year later, Naomi returned to the same church where her first wedding had almost taken place. This time she wasn't wearing a bridal gown. Instead, she stood before hundreds of young couples, sharing her story and reminding them that honesty, trust, and respect are the true foundations of marriage. As the audience applauded, William looked toward the church entrance where he had first seen Naomi crying. That painful memory had become a symbol of hope. One simple question, what happened? Had uncovered hidden lies, restored justice, honored a brave mother, and transformed countless lives forever. Naomi looked at the sunset with peace in her heart. She had lost a dishonest groom but gained truth, purpose, and a family built on kindness instead of wealth. William smiled proudly, knowing compassion had changed both of their lives. Moral: never ignore someone else's pain. One act of kindness, one honest question, and one courageous decision can completely rewrite a person's destiny. True love is built on honesty, not money, and the truth always finds its way into the light.